Welcome again to this next video lecture, and in this video lecture we are going to study the landmarks in development of human rights. Okay, there are we have prepared two videos, or it will take 3 videos for completing this sub point, that is landmarks in development of human rights. Okay, so see here, before proceeding further, let us revise some part. In previous video lecture, we studied the origin of human rights. Okay, so in that video lecture we studied the evolution of human rights. Then the ultimate goal of human rights is living with dignity. So we all have that dignity, we all have that status, and with dignity we have to live in our society, and other people who are living with us, staying with us, they should give respect and take respect, and that is called here dignity, and that is the ultimate goal of human rights. So India itself is an example where women, children, Dalits, bonded laborers, etc. is trying hard to be a part of that mainstream, trying hard to be a part of that mainstream of people or society. And before that, these people, this category of people were somehow denied their human rights. But right now they are right now in this social condition, they are getting status, they are getting dignity because of the some provisions done in the constitution on the by observing the perspectives of human rights. So in spite of all this, the world organized world organized the United Nations Charter of 1945, which states that human rights are inalienable. Okay, and the origin of human rights may be traced to the theory of natural rights, which is derived from the concept of natural law, as propounded by ancient Greek Stoic philosophers and further developed by Thomas Hobbes, Thomas Hobbes and John Locke. So the American and French Revolution gave further impetus to the struggle of human rights, and the evolution and development of human rights in the international context can be traced to the Magna Carta and the English Bill of Rights, then American Declaration of Independence, then French Declaration. Okay, so these movements or struggle movements gave impetus to the development of human rights. Again, in the 20th century witnessed the crystallization of the philosophy of human rights when the United Nations adopted the UN Charter, that is in 1945, and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that was adopted in 1948, and the International Covenants on Human Rights with further emphasis to protection of rights of women, then abolition of slavery, racial discrimination, civil and political rights, economic and social cultural rights, and most importantly the rights of children. And India, the drafters of constitution, took care to incorporate human rights for its own citizens as well as for the aliens. Okay, so there was we also studied the natural rights theory. Okay, and that and it was the expression, that natural rights theory was expression of human rights which had its origin in international law, which is not older than the World War II. The concept of individual having certain basic inalienable rights as against a sovereign state had its origin in the doctrines of natural law and natural rights. So Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau are the three main thinkers who developed the natural rights theory. So according to Thomas Hobbes, who was considered as the first champion of the theory of natural rights, in his celebrated book Leviathan, he advocated that no individual could ever be deprived of the right to life, which he enjoyed in the state of nature. And Thomas Hobbes also asserted that all human beings are equal without any consideration. So he stated that all human beings are equal and without any consideration. Again, regarding this natural rights theory, John Locke also developed the idea further in his book Two Treaties Government, and he argued that every human being has a natural right to life, personal liberty and property, and that no governmental authority has power to deprive individuals of these rights, because they had enjoyed them even before the creation of civil or political rights. And also Rousseau is regarded as the greatest master of natural law school. In his celebrated book The Social Contract, Rousseau states that all men are born free, but everywhere they are in chains, everywhere they are got in chains. So Rousseau also proclaimed that men are bestowed or given they are given with the inalienable rights of liberty, equality, and fraternity. And these concepts became the basis for the French Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the citizen. So these things we have already studied, and right now we are going to study. You might have the question, in what way that human rights were evolved or developed, and what kind of struggles or what kind of pacts or contracts were happened or done in the history that give impetus to the development of human rights. So same thing we are going to study, those documents or those struggles or those ideas that were generated in history. This same thing we are going to study, and how the development of human rights was done or happened. Same thing we will study in this video lecture. So human rights which we are enjoying today is developed through various stages. There are some stages and generations also. You can say first generation, second generation, and third generation. And this generation wise different ideas, different concepts were developed. So the important landmarks in the development of human rights are the following documents or struggles. Okay, so documents means it is not a paper, but it is a actual paper of contract. Okay, actual papers of contract, and with this, by these contracts, the human rights were proclaimed in human rights were accepted, human rights were developed, and those human rights were enshrined or taken the place in different constitutions. But right now we will take the reference afterwards, take the reference of Indian Constitution, and how Indian Charter of Freedom was also gave us enough freedom to enjoy the human rights. Okay, so first document is that Magna Carta of 1215. The second is the influence of social contract theory. Right now we before some time we observed, we listened the natural rights theory, and again it has development of human rights, it has influence of social contract theory also. So third is the third struggle is the English Bill of Rights, or third document is the English Bill of Rights of 1689. And fourth is the American Declaration of Independence of 1776. Okay, fifth is the American Bill of Rights of 1791. Next is the French Declaration of the Rights of Man of Citizen in 1789. Here one word is missing, that is citizen. So note it down, you may note it down. Okay, and the next is the Bolshevik Revolution of Russia of 1917. Next is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948. That is also called UDHR. And last is the International Covenants on Human Rights. There are international covenants on civil and political rights, cultural rights, then economic rights. Okay, these rights we are going to study, and those human rights, or those rights are also classified in different tags. We may study afterwards. So first is the Magna Carta of 1215. Let us study in detail what is that Magna Carta, or what is the background of development of human rights which was developed, or which was got impetus from the Magna Carta. So the Magna Carta is considered as the first charter of liberty. Okay, it is the first charter or first document where the liberty was proclaimed, and it was signed by the King John of England. You may have some questions in assignments or in quiz. No doubt we are going to conduct quizzes, online quizzes through Google Forms. So be aware, whatever contents we are discussing, you are listening, you are watching, be aware. Okay. So those Magna Carta Charter of Liberty was signed by the King John of England in 1215, and the main theme of the Magna Carta was protection against the arbitrary acts of the king. Okay, means anyhow, the king was has the sole power or supreme power to make any laws in then time. Okay, but and those according to his wish, according to his mind, he used to prepare or he used to enact any kind of laws that he want. That is called here arbitrary. So the 63 clauses of the charter guaranteed certain basic civil and legal rights to citizens and protected the barons from unjust taxes. The barons are called common people or the people who used to do hard work in or laborers, we may say laborers or farmers. Those category were called here barons, and uh, they were disturbed by the unjust taxes which was levied to them by the government of King John of England. So the king was compelled to grant the charter because the barons refused to pay heavy taxes unless the king signed the charter. So there was heavy taxes was levied or assigned to these barons, and barons were not ready to pay those taxes unless the king signed the charter. So in reality, the Magna Carta was made a compromise of the distribution of powers between king and his nobles. Okay, in reality the Magna Carta was merely compromise. It was compromise between the king and his nobles regarding the distribution of powers, and it gave certain concessions not rights as we understand them today. Okay, it gives certain concessions to clergy, landlords, and nobles, and consequently restricted the powers of the king to the extent of those concessions were concerned. Okay, and the influence of social contract theory in this development of human right was more profound. It is very profound impact on the development of human rights. We got it got the influence from social contract theory also. Okay, so the doctrine of social contract was closely linked with the theory of natural law because the basis upon which the natural law theories were formulated was the same for the social contract also. So these doctrines became popular during the 16th and the 17th century through the writings of Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Recently, I revised some part regarding that natural rights theory as well as social contract theory. So, the human rights, we observe the Magna Carta, the document of Magna Carta, and what is the importance of its enactment in the development of uh, human rights. The next point is that uh, we are going to observe the influence of social contract theory. It is also a struggle. It was happen in those times, and it has given impotence to the development of human rights. And how it was influenced the human rights. See here. So Thomas Hobbes, one of the thinkers who wrote his book Leviathan in 1651, and according to Hobbes, man entered into social contract and put the natural state to end. So this contract led to the creation of commonwealth or state, and the ruler was also the outcome of that contract. And since the ruler didn't take part in the contract, he was not bound to observe the conditions of the contract. After the contract, the civil society came into existence. The civil society came into existence, and it was not bounded to the king to observe the contract, what is happening there or what may happen there. Okay, so according to Hobbes, the people surrounded all their power to the king through the contract. The people got that kind of power that used to have to the king and through the contract. So except the right of self preservation, Hobbes was an exponent of absolute monarchy. Okay, so Hobbes was an exponent of absolute monarchy. So John Locke wrote, here we observe the contribution of Thomas Hobbes and his work, his book Leviathan in 1651, in which he mentioned the social contract theory, okay, and natural rights. So you see here, John Locke also wrote two books, and those are essays concerning human nature and essays on civil government. And according to him, man entered into two contracts, that is social and political. The social contract led to the creation of the society. According to John Locke, he mentioned these things in the books. He mentioned that the social contract led to the creation of the society, and the political contract led to the formation of the government. Okay, just keep in mind the difference between two contracts, that is social contract and political contracts. Okay, overall we are discussing the concept of social contract theory and its influence on human rights. So the social contract led to the creation of the society, and the political contract led to the formation of government. Means government was formed according to this political contract. So John Locke believed that people didn't transfer all their rights to the king through the contract. Means according to this contract, people uh, uh, didn't transfer or couldn't transfer all their rights to the king. Okay, so that kind of sovereignty they got because of this social contract theory. And the king was given only the right to life, the right to property, and the right to security. Except these all rights were given to the people. Okay, only right to life, right to property, and the right to security were given to the king. Okay, so the king is only trustee. The people observe the right to dethrone the king. Okay, so sorry, I want to say that here the people reserve the right to dethrone the king if he fails to safeguard the security of the people. So that sovereign power were given to the people, common people, according to this social contract theory. So Rousseau wrote, just we observe the contribution of John Locke, Thomas Hobbes, and right now we will observe the contribution of Rousseau in his work called The Social Contract. According to Rousseau, people transferred all their right to society, but couldn't transfer those rights to the king, and put the natural order to an end. And according to this law contract, they put the natural order to an end. And Rousseau regarded the real will of the society as the general will. So there is a real will which is considered as a general will, and he considered general will as sovereign. So general will is the sovereign capacity to preserve those human rights. So this general will forms the basis of government, and Rousseau regarded government is an institution functioning. Rousseau has given the government the status of institution which can function under the general will of the people. Means whatever the general will of the people, according to that institution or government will be run, and this is the base of democracy also. So it is such kind of rights were given to the people, or should be given to the people, according to this social contract which is proposed by Rousseau. So see here, uh, now we studied this Magna Carta of 1215, then influence of social contract theory, just we studied, and third point is here English Bill of Rights of 1689 we are going to study right now. So see here, the Bill of Rights was signed in England in 1689, and after the glorious revolution of 1688. So after the glorious revolution, the power of the king was reduced, and the British Parliament declared its supremacy over the crown in clear terms. So before 1688, that all rights were given to the king, and according to this English Bill of Rights, all powers of the king were transformed to the company, that is British Parliament. British Parliament that was given supreme rights to the British Parliament. In short, British government. Okay. Soon after the coronation of William and Mary, the new rulers after revolution summoned the Convention Parliament, accepted the Declaration of the Rights, and passed it into law in the form of the Bill of Rights. So whatever the rights human being should have, those rights were discussed, those rights were taken on the paper, and in the Declaration of the Rights, those same rights of the people was accepted as it is, and afterwards it got the nature of Bill of Rights. Okay. So, the English Bill of Rights declared that the king has no overriding authority. He has no any authority. He has no any power. So, principles like limited monarchy and parliamentary supremacy, etc., was declared during that period. Okay, and the Bill of Rights states that the King of England should be an Anglican. Okay, means he belongs to that, he should be belong to that dynasty, that is Anglican. Then the king should not exercise suspending or depending power. He has no right to suspend or dispense the power. Then no standing army should be maintained without the consent of the parliament. And before that, such right was given to the king, and no taxation without the consent of the parliament will be issued. Then parliament is the sole authority to decide who should rule England. So all powers were passed to the parliament. Again, next is the annual grants were to be given to the king by the parliament. Means whatever grant may be fixed by the government or parliament of Britishers will be given to the king. Then arbitrary courts are to be abolished. Means temporary courts which was formed in the regime under the power of king was abolished. Then parliament was to be freely elected, and the members were to have freedom of speech. So that election system was generated there. These parliamentary members were elected, and those members have freedom of speech. Then the Toleration Act passed by the parliament granted religious freedom to the people also. So such kind of information or such kind of acts were mentioned in the Bill of Rights of 1689. So we have discussed Magna Carta of 1215. We also discussed what kind of influence has over the influence of the social contract theory over the development of human rights. Just we observe the English Bill of Rights of 1689, and let's move forward to see the contribution of American Declaration of Independence of 1776 in the development of human rights. Okay, see here. So the America was the colony of Britain. It was there was colonial movement was going on. Means all people were residing in the colonies, and America was not a separate country in that time. Even Britishers were ruling the America. Okay, and those native people were working as a laborers in the companies of Britishers in their own country. In America itself, the native people were working under the control of Britishers, and there were 13 colonies in America. So these colonies were revolted against England. And the main reason, see here, the colonies means people residing in the colonies were don't confuse these colonies. Colonies means companies, short companies, small companies, or small industries. You may take this image here, small industries, and those were called here colonies. So these colonies were revolted against England for their independence. means English colonies, American colonies were also people residing in the American colonies were also getting the freedom from the clutches of Britishers, and they were demanding the independence. And the main reason for the revolt was that British government was of the view that the colonies also should share in the expenses incurred in their administration. Okay, to run that administration, whatever money should be generated, those money should be generated in the form of taxes which should be collected from the American colonies. And American colonies were against this rule. They were not ready to pay the taxes to the Britishers. That's why they make a revolt against the Britishers. And with this view, the British government started to take various regulatory measures under which it introduced certain new taxes, and to incur their administration, Britishers started to take various regulatory measures to issue new taxes to the people in the American colonies, and this resulted into militant opposition by the American people. And they argued that since they didn't have their representatives in British Parliament, it had no right to impose taxes upon them. So American colonies, people in the American colonies were saying that there is no any representative elected in the British Parliament. So even British Parliament, on the basis of this, British Parliament don't have any right to issue taxes or to impose taxes upon American people. So the state declared independence in 1776, and the Declaration of Independence was done on July 4th 1776, and the famous document was drafted by Thomas Jefferson. Okay, so this because of this revolt, afterwards people revolted for getting the freedom, and that was going to be sanctioned in the British Parliament. And that document, the document of American independence, Declaration of Independence of 1776, the document was prepared or drafted by Thomas Jefferson. And the document says, see here, the Declaration of Independence was done on July 4th 1776, and the famous documents were drafted by Thomas Jefferson, as it was mentioned in the previous slide. And the document says that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator, by their God, with certain inalienable rights. That among these are, means those rights were given by God itself. Okay, and those rights are inalienable. Those rights are inalienable, and in those inalienable rights includes the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the government, and that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. Means any destructive actions, if are taken by the uh, government, then that common people have the right to abolish or to alter it, and institute new government, so laying its foundation on such principles, that is right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. On the basis of these principles, organized its power in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Means on the basis of this right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, on the basis of these values, that government should be formed, and their safety and happiness has given more importance or weightage in this Declaration of Independence. So thus Americans made their claim for independence on the basis of inalienable rights of men, popular sovereignty, and the right of revolution. But at the At the time of drafting the Constitution in 1787, they didn't include the Bill of Rights in the Constitution. Okay, they did it in 1791 by adopting 10 amendments to the Constitution. Except observing the Bill of Rights, they did 10 amendments to the Constitution, and these amendments are known as Bill of Rights and form part of their Constitution. Means actually there are 10 amendments and it is considered as a Bill of Rights and it is part of their Constitution. Okay, even you may observe these 10 amendments on net and you will get the clear ideas what kind of rights were given in the form of that Constitution. So see here. So just we observed the American Bill of Rights of 1791. So see here in this next slide, what is that American Bill of Rights included. So the first 10 amendments of the American Constitution constitute the American Bill of Rights, and James Madison proposed. Thomas Jefferson drafted the American Bill of Rights, and James Madison proposed as many as 12 amendments in the form of a Bill of Rights in 1791. See here, let me go back to clear your idea regarding this. So see, famous this American Declaration of Independence, the draft of this declaration was prepared by Thomas Jefferson, and this afterwards James Madison proposed as many as 12 amendments in the form of Bill of Rights, which was cleared or accepted in 1791. So 10 of these were ratified by the state legislatures, and these 10 constitutional amendments came to be known as the Bill of Rights in America. So the constitutional settlements in the US and the attached Bill of Rights provided a model for the protection of human rights. Okay, and after 1791 many other amendments were also made in the Constitution of America. So those amendments you may observe here in this current slide. See, the first amendment provides freedom of religion, freedom of press, freedom of expression, and the rights of assembly. Means people can choose any religion they like. Then they have freedom of press, means they have a right to compose their articles, compose their writings, compose their opinions in the form of different writings. Again, they have freedom of expressions, means they can give speech anytime, anywhere they like. Okay, and the rights of assembly, means they used to come together according to this right, means they have a right to come together, discuss together, and form express their opinions by forming a group. Okay, so that is called here rights of assembly. Then the fourth amendments provide protection of individual against unreasonable search and seizure. Means no one government has no right to seize the property or to seize anything without consent of people. Okay, again the fifth establishes the rule against the self incrimination and right to due process of law. Means whatever the process of law is given, it is abided to the common people. Okay, and the 13th Amendment is adopted after the Civil War and abolishes the practice of slavery. Means there is no any person can be purchased or sold as a slave man. Okay, that was the ill will or ill treatment was given to the people in those time. Means even a human being, even a man can be considered as a slave in your home, and that malpractice was abolished by the 13th Amendment in the American Bill of Rights of 1791. And another amendments are 15th Amendments that was done in the 1870 grants the right to vote of racial school of distance, racial school of distance education in human rights in India, page 14, minorities. Okay, and the 19th, here some colons are missed. So see, 19th Amendment was done in 1920, extended the right to vote to women, and this is also important landmark in the history of election. You may think so, because not that to vote to right to vote was not given to the women, but it was first given in America, according to this 19th Amendment. And by 26th Amendment, 1971, right to vote at 18 years of age, and by 27th Amendment in 1972, the provision of equal rights and non-denial of non-abridgment of equality of rights on account of sex is included. Okay, means very important improvement was done in this American Bill of Rights. That is, right to vote to women was given, then right to vote at 18 years of age was given, and according to 27th Amendment, the provision of equal rights was also given. So it is worth nothing that no rights ever been removed or abridged by the Congress. Is whatever amendments were done after 1791. Okay, this is 50th Amendment, 26th Amendment, 27th Amendment, then these all amendments were accepted as it is by the Congress. Okay, Congress is the name of government given to that America. Here we may say Parliament. In India we say Parliament, and same name is given in the America, that is Congress. Okay, so till this slide we observe the 5 movements, 5 struggles of 5 documents which give impetus or which cause the development of human rights. Those are Magna Carta of 1215, influence of social contract theory, English Bill of Rights, American Declaration of Independence of 1776. Okay, and this one, let me clear. These 4 things as far as we considered here in this current video. So till the next video lecture, we will proceed again to the next video lecture regarding the same content, how that human rights were developed. So till then, thank you and have a good day.